Komona bapasi ya boye nalembi koloba natase na biso yo matupona nino wanga ninga boye pase simbinga motema mama alingi boye lokutana ya mabe mama masumu double
It's on Brace Radio Africa. It feels great to be back on as always, and let us show hope you're having a great time tonight. This is the 16th of October, 2023, and as always, I just want to give God the praise for affording me another opportunity to be alive today. Father, you woke me up, got me up and going with good health. With that, I want to give you thanks. And in the name of Jesus, we just want to say thank you. Well, some heard the name, some heard people talk about them. You've gotten the opportunity to match the name, voice, and face as we come to you from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. It feels very chilly this afternoon, this evening. Dress warm, if you have something to do out there because it's getting chilly. The weather has changed. And it is a good thing to be back on these platforms again, one of which is Bridge Radio Africa. Very shortly, we're going to introduce to you my panelists. In the meantime, grab something to drink. I'd like to get to have fun.
Bapesaka motema ndenge nini yolma double komelaka ngata mikolo ya poso mama double desanga mwa bezelita manaka chwa double.
Okay, we are back, and at this time I'd like to welcome the Reverend George out of East Africa tonight. Reverend George, hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Garley, for having me, and thanks to our fellow panelists for another edition that we hope to speak to the Liberian elections, the current situation on the ground, and also I'm grateful to be a part of this show. Thank you very much.
And let me take this time to welcome my co-host, Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, out of East Orange, New Jersey, the United States of America. Mrs. Roberts, welcome to the show.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Good.
Happy Monday.
We should have said.
Yes. And welcome to our brother, Reverend George. What a difference a week makes. You're now in East Africa.
Yeah.
Praise God for safe travels. We want to welcome our listeners and our viewers all over the world. As you're in East Africa, I'm sure you've shared the show and somebody there is watching with you. Welcome to another Monday evening of Bridge Radio Africa with your host, Ashford, the Giant Garley. Thank you for coming. Please share the show.
Okay. At this time, we'd like to say hi to welcome to our own, a very powerful political enthusiast, the Reverend Idatus Added. Welcome to the show.
Greetings to all of you wonderful panelists. It's been a long, hard week listening to these results. Greetings to my fellow Liberians. in Liberia and in diaspora. It's a pleasure to be here once more. And we're looking forward to discussing about our beloved country, Liberia. Thank you.
You know, the show tonight is dedicated to a friend and brother. He's not only my friend, but he's a brother. As he celebrates his natal day today, Mr. Samuel Simpson Barker celebrates his birthday. Sam, congratulations. Let us show hope that you live to see many more birthdays to come. This one comes from Cindy, ASHFORD, Wallets, also from all of your friends and relatives, not only in the diaspora, but in other parts of the world. So, Sam, if you're listening, take it from all of us here at Bridge Radio Africa tonight. And again, like the Frenchman would say, félicitations et merci pour votre contribution. The Reverend Idatus added, give us the political menu.
Well, as it stands now, Ashford, we've heard the results today from the head of the Election Commission, Madame Deviated Brown Lasana, who stated that out of the 95,890 polls, 5,890 polling centers, they've significantly reported a substantial amount. And what we hear now is that both the incumbent President George Weah has 43.65% and Joseph Imabweka has 43.70%. So it appears as if to say we are poised for a second round. There are votes still pending in Nimba, Cape Mount, and parts of Lofa. So we're anticipating that irrespective of these results, folks are projecting that there will be a second round, and folks are speculating that the numbers may have been manipulated, but that will be discussed in the pending discussions ahead. Thank you.
Reverend George, what are we hearing from other political leaders? Are we hearing conceptions, or are we hearing disappointment? What are some of the political leaders saying, like the Gonglo, the Alexander Cummins, the Moneyback? What are they saying now, following these results that we are seeing now?
Thank you very much, Ashford. Let's be very clear. Most of them are speaking. I know Ganglo has spoken. I didn't follow that, but I was privileged today to follow the message of our leader, our political leader, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummins Jr., who I believe continue to show sound leadership. And I will just summarize the message he gave today in 3 points, 3 bullet points. Today he spoke to the fact that and refused to dignify and surrender to the fraud process that mark the elections that we have today in Liberia. He made it very clear and called for an investigation so that those who are bent on influencing our political process can be punished.
Hello, are you still there? That is kind of freezing there. Well, Mrs. Roberts, can you continue until he rejoins us? Unmute your device, please.
No, I said not only I didn't watch it, but I did read part of the statement, and he asked that we continue to be put Liberia first, be responsible citizens, as he understands what is happening, but we are following the law. We're gonna wait and see what happens. So as you can see on my at my name, he says, let's put Liberia first. And that's what we are going to do, because something sinister happened or is happening. And we want to all agree upon that. But we are going to take it one step at a time.
Okay, thank you. Reverend George, you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was along that line. I was making the 3 points that encapsulated my listening to our political leader. And I said earlier that he did not dignify and surrender to the fraud process. Matter of fact, he called for active investigation to get to the bottom of the matter, what really happened. And he also unequivocally denounced violence as and urged Liberians to remain peaceful. And that's the man we know him to be, very peaceful leader. And the third point I pick up from there is he made a case for a peaceful and non-violent change, and this change lives on. It doesn't die. This change is not what we're seeing here. For Liberian people to have true change, we have to do away with the old and the current order. So Mr. Cummings is making a case. We are committed to pursuing change, but at the same time, we are not taking the election result for granted. We are demanding active investigation because something sinister, like the Bible said, actually happened, and all sides should look at it and frown only if we are genuine about transparent, free, and fair elections in Liberia. Thank you.
Now, did that just added? Did he concede when he said these words? Federal partisans, sympathizers, and supporters. We must never give up on our country because of what we have dared to do, because of the spark of real change which we have started together. Business will never be as usual in Liberia. This country will be fixed now or later. Mr. Addy.
Well, certainly Mr. Cummings encourages us to envision the prospects of change futuristically, but he's also recognized the ridiculousness of the current electoral reporting with respect to him getting 27,000 votes in the entire country, something that is not, quite frankly, in his opinion, welcoming. At the same time, he wants all Liberians to remain hopeful that change is coming when you read the entire statement. So if he's not in these numbers that are being reported, certainly you can look at that speech as a kind of concession, but not a concession to give up on the process of democratic principles, its transparency, its sense of fairness and justice. So he's clearly letting us know as a people, so something that I personally stand with, as well as every peace loving Liberian and other political leaders should stand with, that we should not be, that the will of the Liberian people should not be subverted. In my opinion, if you deprive Mr. Cummings of his legitimate votes, you are also depriving Joseph Imamboyka. If you deprive the Honorable Councillor Gonglo of his votes or Dr. Maniba, you are depriving the Honorable Joseph Imamboyka. You are subverting the will of the people. So we are hoping that in the midst of that accusation, there will be some movement towards an investigation that will substantiate the claims of the insinuations of malpractices within our votes. But let's be very clear. These elections are bigger than one political leader. It is all about our future and the generation born. And should we allow, one group of people to impose their will on us, then that is a problem. So Mr. Cummings is quite frankly encouraging the entire country to keep the hope alive and not give up, irrespective of whether or not he wins or loses.
Reverend George, when you listen to your political leader say these words in quotes, I've heard from many of our partisans, well wishers, and supporters. I feel your disappointment. I share your pain. I understand your anger. But we must not lose hope, not in ourselves, and definitely not in our country. We must continue to remain peaceful and Lord abiding. We will win in the end. Reverend George.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And that's the reason some of us believe in Mr. Cummings and the CPP. Like my brother said, that was the fact that he acknowledged he was not going to be in the roundup is clear, but also that should not in any way make us to sweep any malpractices under the rug. But those words you talk about speaks to the fact that look, to our audience, we have records of, for example, Joe Biden. Joe Biden been running for election for the time I know him. He sometimes never crosses the party primary. Several times, one, two, three, four. And later on, we have Joe Biden as the president of the United States. George Open, we are ran 2005, 2011. And now we have Open from 2017. So again, a fighter does not quit. And that's the spirit I like about Mr. Cummings. We believe in real change. Like I said earlier, we do not believe that what we are hearing will represent in any iota the type of change that Liberia needs. And therefore, we'll keep fighting for that change. So, whatever the case may be, we will stand firm. And one day, we believe that we have the kind of leader who is resilient, who is not threatened by any corrupt political officials. The same old, same old. He's ready to stand up. And if he comes back again, we will support him.
Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts, two political parties are talking about inauguration. You were on
Hmm.
record saying George Weah, if anything, would not be in the second round. Cummings going to win that, and he's going to win it all. And here we are listening to Cummings in what appears to be a concession speech. What are your thoughts?
Like I said, while it's true, something sinister happened with Mr. Cummings' numbers. I did agree that George Weah would have gotten the red card, which he did. And I'm going on record to say he got the red card and he's turning it around to be yellow. And it's unfair that he is challenging the voice of the people. The voice of the people is the final straw.
Something
You know,
sinister happened at the voting sites or at the National Elections Commission headquarters, because listening to you say that the EU and other international observers, they are saying they in fact commended the National Election Commission's chairman, Miss Madam Deria Brown Lasana. They said, while it is true there were few irregularities, but they appear to be doing what is peaceful, transparent, and credible.
and that's the key word, appear. Now, all of the things that we've heard has been done in the midnight hours or during odd hours. So while it's true they appear to be doing the best they could, but from the reports and the, what do people say? The town has eyes. So why you may think no one sees what you're doing, yeah, somebody does. Because everyone lives somewhere and everybody sees something. People are in their homes locked up as cages, but they can look outside those bars and those Colombo blocks and can see when action is going on. So let us not be fooled. In fact, the powers that be have satellite over the place. So let them continue to pretend that no one sees them. Just like our Lord and Savior does not, he gives us our free will, but he sees everything that we do. So when we think we're in a little corner, getting away with something, someone sees us. And that's why we're at our honor when we take public service jobs to be honorable. Thank you.
The Reverend Idatus added, last week on the show, you said you were cautiously optimistic that Unity Party was going to win in the first round. Earlier today, some of your surrogates or members were even telling us that those of us that didn't support Ambassador Boycott would not even make it to the inauguration. They won't give us tickets. As a matter of fact, we'll be outside the SKD Sports Complex. We are looking at something that is going to be in the second round. What say you?
And that is why the likes of Mr. Cummings, our parties, we have reservations. Because when you look at these numbers and how they were calculated, irrespective of people having the tally sheets, something potentially sinister happened at the polls. For example, when you look at the Southeast that had difficulty acquiring ballot boxes and the voting materials. Those were the numbers. After they saw that Joseph Boyka was leading, they shifted their entire focus now to the Southeast. When you look at all of the numbers they call, see how he wiped it out and has an opposition has insignificantly good ballots, votes, to count on. But when you look at the western section or sector of the country, where Joseph Boyka is considered to have strongholds, the president also has a tremendous amount of votes in those areas. Now, what defies logic is the fact that our president, George Weah, he won the last elections with a coalition. He doesn't have this coalition. He's still projecting himself to be at par with this current with our vice presidential candidate, the Honorable Joseph Boyka. So there's something that isn't right. So we were very confident based on the reports that we have from our tally sheets. But again, elections aren't only rigged on the day of voting, it's properly planned, orchestrated to reflect the results that the incumbent once had. And that is why I was cautiously optimistic. It's difficult to beat a corrupt incumbent in Africa. Let's be very clear about that. So make no mistake, it's an uphill battle, and we will not rest until he is defeated.
You know, I'm not a fan of George Weah because of his corrupt practice and the way he's treating my country. But don't be surprised that the numbers came out the way they did, because George Weah just didn't limit his campaign to the Southeast. George Weah went to the 15 political subdivisions. Unlike Ambassador Boyka, who caught speech that the librarian would say from the Southeasterners. You never saw Ambassador Weah going to Grand Jita, Grand Cruz, Sino, Maryland, River G, and all those places. So George Weah got numbers from other parts of the country because his presence was felt. Don't you see it that way?
No, not at all. And let's be very clear, the Honorable Jeremiah Cohn did take some trips to Grand Jita as well as Sino, among other places. So make no mistake, we did campaign in the Southeast. But let's be very clear, we know that politics is tribal in many ways, shape, or form. So like in these United States, as a Democrat, I wouldn't campaign in Arizona because I know it will just be a total waste of time. So that's just the reality in politics. You put you invest where you know you can secure substantial votes. And even in this great United States of the 50 states of America, you will see that a Republican will not fly to California to campaign, and sometimes Democrats may not even go to California because California is automatic. So we send surrogates there to represent us. So perhaps that's a lesson learned. We need to kind of really consider campaigning more in the Southeast to secure votes, but that's the nature of politics, and that's why certain candidates may not venture in certain areas by virtue of the fact that if the president comes from Grand Cess, and you're trying to campaign in Grand Cess, those resources could be invested in other counties where there's a larger share of the votes.
Well, Mrs. Lady Brooks Roberts, as we prepared ourselves for what's to come in terms of the second round, what would be the impact of this guy who just came from out of the blue, ranking numbers, Appleton? What's going to happen? What pivotal role will he play if there should be the second round? Your mic is muted.
I said, who is Appleton and where did he come from? From what I have seen, he was a surrogate of Cummins. And how is it that he was running and nobody knew? Mr. Garley, there's something sinister, and we will continue to say that. How is it in fact, all of the candidates that have led in their different parties, who are standard bearers that were moving along the country, they were talked about. We even had a gentleman here who said he was running a ticket with the lady. I think the two ladies that were on there, and we heard of those people. We heard of Sarah Beslow Nyanti, who came in at the 11th hour. We still heard of her. Where did Appleton come from? Who can explain what they call it, Nicodemus appearance? We need more clarity on him. We need more clarity. But the people say when it quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck. It is a duck. I think in Mr. Cummins' statement, it's probably, for me, it's leading to, let's hope there is, I don't even think it should be a runoff. It sounds more like it should be a repeat. How do you have elections and a day later people are on boats going? Election day is called election day for a reason, so everyone votes the same day.
Appleton uh, affiliates with the grassroots. He calls himself a grassrooter. I watched quite a few videos of him campaigning, and one of the things that he said, "Listen, I don't have money, but I have one thing: I have integrity." And
Mm.
he was saying in the communities, I know some personal friends who are members of his party.
Can
So
you share some of those videos?
yes, I will later on after the show. I can't reach to them now, and he's also had an interview on BBC. Perhaps he was not the guy that was coming on the big platforms like ours, but he was going through towns and villages speaking to his people. If you notice, he had votes nearly every county. So he's not just the guy who jumped from the sky, as you may portray it to be, Mr. Roberts.
And you may be right that maybe because I didn't hear, but I want to be on record that I'm not the only person that didn't hear. It's 1% of you that know him, and we talking about a country's election. We're talking about a national presidential election. We're not talking about not. I can even say a representative. Some of them, some of the names were not known, but not for presidential. And again, for the sinners, I'm going to leave that word, but the Nicodemus way that he appeared to be a partisan or a sympathizer of Alex Cummings, and to find out he is the throat cutter, I'm troubled.
Thank you. Well, Reverend George, just a few days ago, the members of the Unity Party was talking about it's over. We got this. This one round victory for Unity Party. Joshua is the former president of Liberia. Today, the story has a little bit changed. What's going on?
Okay, let me just speak to this, which I believe does not affect just the Unity Party. I believe the CPP and several other parties. What I believe when we talk about something really happening is it was precipitated by the lack of diligence. For example, we expected that these parties would do everything within their power to have representation at every polling center.
Would expect that this party will have representation at every polling station. Yes, go ahead, Reverend George. Okay, let me bring in Idatus, and then
I
he
think
can.
he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen. That come in, Idatus.
Right. So let me speak to the Appleton situation. I know Mr. Appleton personally from Congo
Yeah,
Town.
okay. Sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
so I believe that didn't happen because when I spoke to a United Party saying who was close to the process, you know, it appears that when we crunched the number, were just 67% of center were represented from their side, which was in fact even good. I don't even know how much percentage of CPP representation we had. So when we say something happened, and people are playing with the elections. You can't do all the things, spend all the money on dedicate on meetings and things, and the most important thing, poll watchers was overlooked. Also, there's a scenario where we're told by Dr. Mulber's party where credible information speaks to us that he and his supporter voted at a place and they got zero, meaning that probably he didn't vote for himself, which is very, very, very strange and preposterous. So something really happened. To me, what we have to learn is that now Liberia is getting really open to the democratic process. Poll watchers are key. 5,870 polling stations. We needed those places to be covered with at least two poll watchers per party. Okay, so if you have places where there were no poll watchers representing the opposition, that leaves a broad opening for the ruling party to scoop in anything. So now you don't blame a director who is receiving stuff from the field that was manipulated on the field, and they have signature to it, and she's reporting it. And that's why the international community, they're doing all their best. Because if there's any cheating, it did not happen at the NEC. It happens on the field because the pool was not covered by opposition parties. And it's regrettable.
That is our country needs help. This nonsense didn't start this year. It started back, as far as I can remember, it started back in 2017. You remember Benin Ayuri from Kirisburg, the entire Kirisburg, and all of the works that he did in Kirisburg. He had only 2 votes. Prince Johnson, who I am not a fan of, in his entire community, he didn't vote for himself. He has 0 vote in his community. And Prince Johnson was crying and said, "You mean I didn't vote for myself? My wife didn't vote for me?"
Yeah,
And
I
today
remember.
we had Cummings had a total of 18 members of his entourage, and only 2 people voted in where he voted at. And Mr. Moneyman, I'm told, did not even vote for himself where he went to vote. What is going on?
This is a travesty of democracy, and that is why all of the political parties need to come together in a unity of force to actually investigate these results and not just settle for a second round. They need to start complaining now. They need to start going to the Supreme Court. They need to call for a recount right now. Because if you pass this moment, every other vote prior will be invalidated. It is a setup. So we need to call for a recount now than just accepting these results and going for a second round. Because they realize that Liberia is under edge. So they've done their best, to kind of have Joseph Boyka and the president neck to neck. Mr. Cummings been in Liberia for all these years campaigning, and he only got 27,000 votes. Appleton got 37,000. Now, pretty tell me, if you go on Mr. Appleton's page, you don't see any of his major campaigns all over. And according to Article 78, Section 2 of the NEC, before a political party register, he or she must have at least 500 associations in 6 counties. 500 associations in 6 counties, according to Article 78, Section 2 of our 1986 Constitution. So, pretty tell me, are you really suggesting that Mr. Appleton was a grassroots movement that nobody saw and suddenly
Right.
shocked the entire electoral system? So that's cause for curiosity. That calls for investigation. Honestly speaking. Go ahead.
Pastor Idatus, to a point, you were saying something in the lines of you know him personally before Pastor
Yes.
Reverend George came back. Yeah, please speak to that because I would like to know his name in full.
Right. So his name is Edward Appleton. We were all in Congo Town together. He's a very reputable young man, and I was just kind of surprised to note that he was running for the presidency of Liberia, even though he was on the ballot. But that being said, I know him personally,
Okay.
but not as close. In fact, he was married to my wife's first cousin. But that being said, it's certainly a shock wave, to suddenly see this kind of grassroots movement that nobody heard about, which is quite frankly questionable. If you go on his Facebook page, Ashford, you will not see the gathering of 1,000 people around him. So he probably need to show some pictures, every party lunch. So if he was able to collect 37,000 at least in his campaigning, we should be able to see that amount of people, in some way, shape, or form that have gathered. But I've went through his pages on Facebook, which is free press. Anybody can hold your phone and do a live when you're campaigning in different places.
Some of the things that we overlook can come back to hunt us. You guys were so dwell on Joseph Boyka becoming the president in one-round victory. The Liberian people are tired with George Weah. If you knew that this guy was not qualified, why didn't you flag it back then? Somebody is saying you were sending it after the fact.
No,
Wait.
so I
Uh-uh.
mean, I'm sure, quite frankly, that before the neck, gave him his credentials to run, he may have presented that he has over 500 members in each of the 6 counties to be qualified to run. So was whether or not that was true or false per our constitution election laws, he's on the ballot. So if NEC did the validation and we didn't, look at all of those candidates in the race to authenticate whether or not they were truly represented as reported, then it's our fault as a collective political body,
Right.
participating in these elections. I can certainly agree to that. I can certainly also agree to the fact that we may have just so been concentrated on, how many people were voting for us until we didn't see the Trojan horse in the race,
You
that
know
surprised
Trojan horse.
everybody.
Well, we tried to post in the videos, but Mrs. Roberts, to your question, I grew up with this young man, Abington. We grew up together in Jarltown, and besides, we also live around the same area in Congo Town. He's very charismatic. Uh, uh, he attracts people when he speaks. So he's a real credible, fine young man, with good conduct. So in the days and weeks to come, you hear more about him. Again, after the show, we shared a few videos of him campaigning with you. Reverend George, my man, the people were talking about their first round victory for Unity Party. Here we are now looking to go into the second round, possibly.
Yeah, I must commend my friend who is absent today, Dr. Fix, who maintained that it was quite an impossibility for anybody to go first round, and this is what we have. But at the same time, it's a quagmire. I think the ruling party have managed to really poke a hole within the opposition, because why is it that we're blaming each other? They had their
Hmm.
shenanigans all set up,
Yes.
their shenanigans all set up. And this is where they capitalize on the failure for the opposition to see the actual loophole, which is poll watchers. I must continue to say that. Maybe next election we can be very diligent on that. If you are not represented at the poll watchers, you cannot sign the tally sheet, and whatever tally sheet you have will only be limited to the one that you are represented at. So, like I said, I don't know even how many poll watchers that we had at CPP, but when I spoke to a Unity Party person who was very open and transparent, it came out that they were just 67%, a whopping 1,700 centers were now represented by UP certified poll watchers. Now, just UP, as much as they tried their best, what about the CPP? What about the other party? It was left wide open for the ruling party to capitalize that on. And so I think one of your listeners is asking what really happened. These are the things we are talking about, Mr. Listener. So I think on this note, I will agree with that again maybe for a few times that instead of just hastily moving to second round, we need to call for recount. The opposition should unite
Yes.
and call for a recount, whether the recount benefits UPP or it benefits CPP, but there must be a recount to make sure that we are getting the right thing. Otherwise, if we leave it like that, it goes to and we go to second round. Oh, pray God, then what stops them now to do the same thing in the second round if we do not check them in the first round?
Thank you. But Mrs. Roberts, how smart these guys can be. In the words of Alexander Cummings and quote, he said, the evil geniuses involved and their co-conspirators may believe they can demoralize our right to vote. They may be thinking they can crush our desire to be governed democratically and live in peace. Mrs. Roberts?
Mr. Garley, I've been perplexed, and I've been wondering on the health of JNB and Mr. Cummins. It's one thing to 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 do a competition and lose, just lose, with respect and dignity.
Right.
I was looking forward to one of, whoever concedes, but to see and hear all of these, things. I'm here looking at this Edward Appleton's page, and all of this is generated after the fact. So I don't know. Like I said, I want to see the videos you have. He has nothing that goes back 6 months, 2 months. These are all recent things down he's putting up. But it just hurts to see that people make all of this effort. And for me, it's not like, oh, if he didn't win, I would die. It just hurts to know you put your all in it and somebody steals it. It's like you turn your back and somebody, after packing your luggage, when you're going somewhere and you turn around and the whole thing is gone. That's I mean, just words are not even enough to come out of my mouth tonight. And I'm very, very, very disappointed that our country has stooped this low. And as stated in the European Union report, this incumbent spent most of the country's finances or resources to run his campaign. Look how many cars and things they brought in when, as we saw in Buchanan, a fire at a whole national port, and you have no fire truck. We have lost of lives the other day. Nobody to rescue those people. But you have people taking the country coffers, going across the bridge or across the borders, buying homes in the neighboring countries, and just sending their families away. Why are they doing that?
Thank you.
Because they know they're up to something no good. So it baffles me.
That is when somebody is writing and the person is pissed off, you can sense that in the writing. Now that the campaign is over, it is all about Liberia. Listen to uh, listen and hear the wordings coming out of Alexander comments. He said that the announced results ridiculously defy common sense.
Thank you.
This is showing an unhealthy impression about our democracy. Stanik.
I mean, and I could almost agree with him in light of the fact that there are reports where he believed to have voted, and the results that came out of there did not represent what he did. So he used the word ridiculous because I think he got like 1.28% of the votes in the national tally. Come on now. I mean, after all, Mr. Cummings put a whole lot of people on the Anthony Tubman Stadium. You know, I'm guarantee at least 50% of those people voted for him. Not to mention the fact that he went to Markey, not to mention the fact that he went to Maryland, his hometown. But he didn't even win his own hometown. I mean, let's be fair. He was always campaigning in all the different places, and for him to get 1.28% of the vote, 27,000, that's what makes it a bit ridiculous to him, because he knows the kind of work he's invested in Liberia to be able to run for the presidency, and he's been running ever since and making some investment in the country. So for me personally, I just want a free, fair, and transparent elections. And let's be very clear: elections aren't stolen on the day of elections. It's organized, and that is why we in the Unity Party kept on sounding the trumpet that how will you conduct a census, and then you increase the population of the southeast, whilst the western sector that did not predominantly use contraceptives, and the southeast that use contraceptives, they increased their population. It is not by coincidence. This thing was well thought of, and people can say, oh, you can have a conspiracy theory all you want. That's absolutely fine, but the fact remains. The fact remains.
Reverend
Listen,
George.
our democracy calls for transparency. A recount of these votes will not hurt the process.
Reverend George,
Yeah.
your political leader said today, quotes, the scheme to rob the Liberian voters of their right to choose their leaders may be sophisticated and difficult to trace and prove. But in the end, it undermines our democracy and risks the security and stability of our country.
And that does not sound like a concession speech, Mr. Valley. That's why I keep telling you that everything you are allowing from that speech tells me that it was anything but a conception. Look, Mr. Cummings knows what happened. Liberian people know what happened, and one of the things I'm happy about, he calls for an investigation
Yeah.
to get to the bottom. You see, even if it is Unipart or CDC or whoever declare winner.
I think it's frozen.
Mrs. Roberts, take it away.
Yeah, Mr. Garley. Yeah, I don't think it's a concession. He's just laying out it. For me, I want to call it organized crime. Okay, and how ironic that after the fact, when the UP was raving on their their win, we were told that's the day they were taking the ballots to the southeast. Okay, so now you know that these people are excited that they're possibly winning, but then you do a delayed vote.
And
So now you control that.
Okay, I want you to please lay on that thought as we bring back Reverend George to complete his thoughts. Reverend George.
Yes, yeah, what I was saying about his unequivocal posture on that speech makes it anything far from being a concession speech. But I think for me, in terms of self-examination, what I do want to know, as um, person with aligning with CPP and other party, we really want them to come clean to us. How many pool watchers did CPP put out there? How many pool watchers did Unity Party put out there? How many pool watchers, Dr. Monaba, for example? Because you see, we can talk all we want, we can prognosticate, we can analyze, but if we don't get to the bottom to know that we all overlook the process by not being very keen to the fact that every polling center was represented by a certified party poll watcher, then we are joking. You leave the room open for the ruling party to do anything. Because like Mrs. Rawa said, they had all the money. They were using the state money so they could be everywhere. This is where I believe the opposition may have failed. And after investigation, we need to come back and do self-examination to say, look, we're not going to do that for another election. We're going to invest all of our time to have full watchers at every polling station. Thank you.
Mrs. Roberts, this is the boy who, according to the opposition, has mud in his brain. He's a buka dancer. Now you're saying you want recount. I mean, when you people were all saying, the Unity Party people were saying 1 round victory. No matter what they do, we're not winning. They get 1 round victory. Today you're calling for recount.
I'm not calling for a
nothing.
recount.
And today you're calling. I mean, come on now.
Mr. Garley,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not calling for a recount. I'm calling for a do-over.
Oh.
She took it a step further, yeah. She took it, and I agree with you.
I'm not calling, and I'm not gonna Reverend George. I'm not agreeing with you that we should take the blame as opposition. While it's true, there were poll watchers. Okay, it is upon the country. I am currently 1 second. You see this? Board of Elections. I'm one of the people that help do elections here in America. It is upon the country, the county, the city to make sure everybody's vote is counted properly. Anything you do, you are liable. You could be even prosecuted. So we're not going to continue to blame the opposition or any people running for office. It is the government's responsibility to make sure all elections are free, fair, and peaceful.
Mr. Garrett, can you give me 30 seconds? Let me just
Yeah, go
clarify
ahead.
something.
Go
Okay?
ahead, Reverend George.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think you are right. For the government need to create an atmosphere, but it is incumbent upon every party participating in the election to pull up a poll washer. That's what they call a poll washer. So the poll washer is to ensure independence and transparency. For example, here in the US, I've been serving in elections since Obama term, since 2008. And that right now, I'm a chief judge at my polling center in Prince George's County. Why? Because as a Republican, we have a Republican chief judge and a Democrat chief judge at my polling center to make sure that, you know,
Okay.
Exactly. That's provided for by the
Well,
county.
folks, if you're just joining us, this is Ashford Garley Live on Brace Radio Africa. We come your way Mondays and Tuesdays on Brace Radio Africa. And we'd like to say a big thank you to all of you for taking up time. My big sister, May Carter of New Jersey, it's been a long time. Welcome to the show. My cousin Prince Dauber, Human Throw Krangat is also in the building. Bill son is here. Uh, and the rest of the guys in the building. Henry Dorr, hello, my brother. Hope you all are doing well tonight. Mr. Dorr, if you are back, take it away.
yeah. So all I'm saying is government has a part to play in terms of making sure we got a secure environment. We can go to the poll unintimidated. But when it comes to, because even the election manual require every party to train their poll watchers so that you can be your eyes and your ears to be there. Now, that's something that we have not taken to the extent that is so important. We do all of the campaigning, we do sign all the paperwork, but when it comes time to deploy people, to pay them, to make sure they watch for us, we renege on it. I'm saying we should also take that responsibility of saying that we must have poll watchers at every polling center to be there for us, to check for us. We cannot entrust everything in the hands of the ruling party that wants to remain in power.
Want to say welcome to the president of the FDE to the United States of America, the big brother, Janice Added is listening. If you are, want to say welcome. And you look good, big brother. And keep up the good work. The Reverend Idatu's Added.
Right. So let me be very clear. The Unity Party did do an extensive movement to galvanize poll watchers to the tune of some 13,000 plus poll watchers that we supplied, along with areas that we could not reach. And those who sympathize with us, we entrusted them with the ability to supply poll watchers to monitor their senatorial or or representative run for the House of Senate or Representative. So yes, we try to cover as much as possible to ensure that these elections are in some way, shape, or form transparent. And that is why we consistently held press conferences to ensure that NEC does the right thing. And I want to thank, the leaders of the Unity Party who consistently held NEC, to the place of accountability by letting them know that those tally sheets were in their possessions, and any attempt to deviate from those results would bring a very serious problem to the credibility of the Elections Commission. So I certainly want to congratulate them, by the way, for those press conferences encouraging the NEC to do the right thing. And their definition of the right thing was to, you know, carefully eliminate the other parties and bring Joseph Boyka neck to neck with the incumbent President George Weah.
Well, folks, we will not go to the telephone line so that we can be a little interactive this afternoon to our viewers and listeners as well. The number to call is 267-248-5295. 267-248-5295. As we listen forward to hearing from our callers, want to circle back to Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts or Reverend George. One of the two.
Reverend George.
Okay,
It's
go ahead.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, we know we are suspecting very highly. We think something happened, but what will really help the process is, for example, our brothers in the Unity Party were talking about we have the tally sheets in our possession. So now is the time, if we talk about investigation, for them to bring forth those charge sheets so we can really thoroughly investigate the report from the NEC. Okay, is that my brother talked about 13,000 plus. The last time we crushed the number, based on the deployment that they deployed 4 pool watchers at a polling station. And you had 13,000 and 5,800. It came somewhere around 65% of polling station being covered. And I implore them for that, but that's left open almost 35% police that are now covered. And I'm on record to say I still don't know how many push washer that CPB deploy, which is very troubling to me. Look, we cannot put our lives on the line to hold the process to account, and we don't do our part as well. And this is where I have my take. That being said, whether it's do over, I support it. Whether it's recount, I support it because we all suspect very meticulously that something suspicious happened to this election, and we want the Liberian people to be willing to go to the battle.
I want to
Yeah.
say hi. I want to say hi to A. Benjamin Jacobs out of River G. He was one of the participants of the candidates in the representative race. He fought the good battle, came in second. Keep up the good work, my brother, and kudos to you, at least for taking off the challenge. Khan Adolfo Sam is also here. Prince M. Dorber, Mrs. Lecter Brooks Roberts. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Garley, in going forward, if you would permit me, also I'd like to extend my heartfelt sympathy to the Seattle Townsend family, one of the astute supporter of Mr. Cummins, lost her battle on this weekend. I'm not sure, what it was that she suffered from, or was it just a sudden thing? But we send our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends. But I wanted to point out something that bothered me as the election turned, as the results came in. On October 4th or 5th, I listened to T. Max Jlate, and I heard Philip Burr Brown. I think I spoke to you about that, Mr. Garley,
Mhm.
warning Liberians to get the dry goods and whatever they could and don't send their kids outside. What did he know? I think he needs to be questioned. What prompted him to say that? And as as we all saw, there were some reports of attacks, or supposed attacks on Mr. Joshua, what's his name, Brady, butt naked, Joshua something, I forget his last name.
Dr.
And
Bly.
Bly, thank you. And also there were some reports of mercenaries coming out of Grand Jita. So there's something sinister all around. What happened? What did he know? Why isn't he being called? And is there something? I hear the country is so, everyone is on their P's and Q's. Something is brewing, and we need to know what it is.
Thank you. Again, Mr. A. Benjamin Jacobs, he has helped British Radio to be at this level. He's been very busy with the political activities in Liberia. We also want to say thanks to him. And after these elections, we will regroup and see how best we can take the platform to the next level. We also want to say thanks to Mrs. Angela Bush. She's here as well. She's uh, an astute citizen of our country, a hardworking, very intelligent woman who has also helped us with content on British Radio Africa. Well, folks, if you're just joining us, we like to say welcome to British Radio Africa, ASHFORD GARLEY Live. And as we prepare to hear the final counts of these elections, we'll now hear from the Reverend Idatu Zade.
Mr. Garley, before you go there, I don't know if it's an oversight. Did you see Mr. Bob K. Boley Jr. is also
Is
trending?
he watching?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Mr. Bullet, our
Yes.
own managing director of the bridge in West Africa, Liberia. Bob, what's up? Been a minute, man. Call me after the show, bro. We need to talk.
Thank
That
you.
is
Right, Ashra. I mean, I am still looking forward to the government to see whether or not they will effectuate an arrest for those who went to the SKD sports complex and disrupted the camp there. I'm still waiting to hear what they'll have to do with those individuals. In fact, the usage in that communication that was referenced by Miss Letty Brooks Roberts called for them to have these people investigated and potentially arrested for disrupting, centers in Nimba, Saniquili specifically, as well as the SKD. We have not heard anything about those things. So the government needs to, investigate this matter. The NEC needs to take that very seriously because that may have had some serious effect on the process in terms of the tallying of the votes. The commissioner says she went there and everything seems to be intact, but in keeping with the rule of law, these people need to be arrested and investigated and be exonerated if innocent. But we cannot have those kind of major disruption in a county like Montserrat County, specifically the SKD complex, where a vast majority of votes are concentrated, to have gone through such a disruption, and we don't hear anything. Kai File, who have been reported to have gone there and caused that disruption. So these are very serious election irregularities that this government needs to investigate through the police or the national security entity to preserve the integrity of our elections and its
thank you.
outcome.
Okay, Reverend Doe. Before we go to you, want to take this caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello. How you doing?
Yeah, please tell us your name.
My name is Sekou Touré, but everybody call me Sekou Gina.
Gina, how you doing?
Football player.
Former football player. Okay, welcome to the show, my brother. You have 2 minutes. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm just I gave you 100 pros, man, because I want for people to understand one thing on your show, and let people know that Liberia as a country we believe in propaganda and lies, and I let people stop provoking the people in Liberia, because we're seeing the election commission, they're doing very well. Everything is going well right now in Liberia. But we're seeing people on the street. I live in Philadelphia. The great number you get here is Philadelphia. People calling themselves freedom fighter, threatening the whole election. If anything happened, they will get on the street. They will do what it's going to do. But Liberia don't need that at this time. We passed by that level. And now all the people, all the Google politicians in Liberia, people that influence people, they're coming on social media, giving their own announcement about the election result. Everybody's seeing it. And second to that, and people must be very smart in Liberia. All the things that are going on in Liberia, I will tell you today, by my own observation, Prince Johnson is beyond all the kills in Liberia. Everything that going in Liberia, Prince Johnson is beyond all. And a lot of people stop. We're tired with it. We're tired with this thing. All kind of things. People coming, causing people sitting on social media, causing people murder, causing people relatives. We're not. People come to Western world to gain more knowledge. People that I know, they got bachelor degree, master degree. They're behaving like a little child.
Thank you, Sekou.
They're coming on. They're sitting down saying lie and continuous lying to Liberian people.
Thank you.
That is strategy. Even you hate the government, but don't lie. Say what you know and what you believe, and stop lying. Because I see a lot of people come on the show, they just lie. Because you're not in Liberia, you're not in what we talk. We give the power to the election commission. That would be behind election commission. If you don't set up, I go to court.
Thank you, Sekou. Thanks for calling.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Sekou Gina making his presence known tonight on Bridge Radio Africa. He will join us from Philadelphia, PA. We're now bringing Reverend George. Reverend George, members of the Unity Party, we just, with the last 24 to 48 hours, saying no matter what the election commission does, Unity Party will win these elections in the first round. George Weah and Joseph Boyka are neck to neck, too close to call. Many are saying that we are going in the runoff. What are your thoughts? Reverend George, are you still with us? Okay, please forgive Reverend George. Tonight he's in East Africa and he seemed to be going through some network issues. I will circle back now to the Reverend Idatus. Idatus, you uh, were on the other night and you have been quiet, but you were also saying that at the end, Unity Party, Unity Party's Joseph Boyka will be the next president of Liberia. Do you still maintain that statement?
Well, like I said to you earlier, many nights ago, I was cautiously optimistic, and I maintain this is why I was cautiously optimistic. But let me address the caller who just called. You know, he's accusing the people of lying when in fact he just lied on Prince Johnson. Yeah. When he stated he's the one that behind all of the chaos in Liberia. So it's clear that perhaps he may have a clear support for his CDC government. But let's be very clear. If we go through the chronicles of the violence that this government has been meted upon the people of Liberia, from the LU students' peaceful demonstration at the U.S. Embassy to the flogging of the students on the campus through the Honorable Aquarius Gray. Let us not forget that Miss Tilia Yuri almost lost her life at the hands of CDC. Let's also not forget during the Ellen time, it was CDC that introduced the casket propaganda that potentially almost destabilized the country. In fact, recently during these elections, they put Joseph Boyka's body. I mean, they had the same casket thing that went through a serious condemnation, compounded with what happened in Foya. So let's be very clear in terms of violence. The CDC government has been, quite frankly, the triggers of violence in this country. So make no mistake. The last one we just saw was the one between CDC and alcohol. So the Unity Party was nowhere involved, and I don't think Mr. Prince Johnson was directing the CDC to go in the alcohol campaign area that almost led to a serious electoral violence with individuals losing their lives. So let's be very clear. We all want peace in Liberia. Equally so, will not allow our rights to be trampled upon by a government who is bent on usurping or imposing its will on the people. Thank you.
Okay, Reverend George.
Yeah, I was saying that look, um, the path leading to today, we have had the likes of James Romoyan and other officials of UP come out in a press conference publicly stating that they had the tally sheet, they had a count, and they were assuring the Liberian people that NEC must announce what is the actual. Today now we are hearing second round. You see, again, it's almost like you can't stir the pot if you're not ready to cook yet. So is it second round, or does Unity Party has have tally sheet in their possession that truly represent the will of the people that will contradict what NEC is reporting? We don't know. At the end of the day, I will say this much: whether you are Unity Party, you are NDP, or whatever, let's everyone hear the call of Mr. Cummings. We should not accept the result of these elections. They are ridiculous. They are bogus. We should not encourage violence because our country has gone through so much, and we should not renege on the quest for change. Liberia needs a change, and we will not give up. To me, if we all rally around these 3 points, it will benefit the entire opposition and the entire country at large. So
But
let's not play politics with it.
but what kind of people are we? When you all said the elections were peaceful, free, fair, transparent, you were happy. Others were saying the guy I mean, they should start preparing for inauguration. The other side was saying they should start preparing for then now you people calling for the boycott of this election. They should do recount. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Where are we
no,
going?
let me speak to that. Actually, let me speak to that. I think it's not a contradiction. Okay, what we did say was to ensure that the process is peaceful. But as we went into the process, the reality show up. People try to see the shenanigans that were being played. That doesn't mean that we should have come here and said, oh no, it's not going to be peaceful, or it's going to be. No, we were trying to create the right tone for our people to be safe. Now that the votes are cast, now that the reality is coming out, we also must stand the ground and say, no, we cannot just sweep everything under the rug. So we are saying, if the lives of Appleton, if the lives of Dr. Morba, who voted to a place and got zero, if these things are coming up, then let there be a thorough investigation. So there is not a contradiction, Mr. Garland.
Mrs. Roberts, your turn.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not a contradiction. From what we saw the enthusiasm of our people, and we applauded that because that's the right thing to do. Most times, people are discouraged, even here. Why should I go vote? It's gonna be a scene 6 and 7, and here you are doing, showing the people that their enthusiasm should be bottled and safe for another time. And they also saw the tallies from the polling centers, and the why we give them credit for doing a good job. I think that it's the method. Like, if all of these tallies right here in Monrovia were ready, why are you going all the way to River G, where they voted a day before? It's just, come on. I couldn't emphasize more that for me, when I'm disappointed, I go silent, and I just recuse myself from some of the reportings and the updates, because it's just a exercise in torment, and I felt tormented that
Y-
this is going so drip 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 and in reverse, or going here there, zigzag. No, go to these counties that were voted upon first. You know the timeline. You know when you send out stuff. You got reports from your poll watchers that, on my this center here started 12 o'clock because of delay in delivery. You have all of those things. So why are you going? Go to Margibi, come back. Go to Kidman, come back. Go to River G, crisscrossing the country. That's what's causing people to be more um question
Thank you.
have more questions than
Thank,
answers.
thank you. I do sometimes, I want to question the librarian. But what really do you want? First, you people said it's taking the people too long to count the votes. Now, you never said that the numbers have changed or something. You have your tally sheets that you got from all of the NEC officials and the party representatives. Compare those tally sheets with the results that are coming up. Is there any different? Then you can make your claim. But you guys are on record saying, "Oh yes, I mean the numbers are good." They come, but why it taking us so long to do this? The counting of the southeastern counties and leaving out the western counties because they want Georgia to reach 50 plus one first. Now that the numbers have all come and both guys are neck to neck, you're calling for recount. Be fair to the Liberian people, man. What is going on? Big sister Ruth B. Thomas Addy, how are you? Go ahead, Dadges.
Idatus,
So
maybe to
Asheville, let's be
answer
very
at surmountable then. He said we can't tell NEC what to do. No one's telling NEC. We're just questioning some of their practices.
Okay, Dadges.
right. So let's be very clear. NEC is reporting the sum total of votes at precinct and not at, I mean, at the polling station, not at precinct specifically. So that's some of the confusion we're having. You will also see that when NEC went to report, at one point in time, she forgot to report Bapolu, and she had Bapolu results in her hand. She had to be reminded, and she reported it. So all of these things that happened created the healthy skepticism.
Come on, the whole
Now,
nation
don't think
is
these
watching. The whole nation is watching this woman. Come on, mistake, and she correct. Hey, come on, man. We all do make mistakes at times.
No, 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 no. That was not a mistake. She was pressured to come and re-announce it the following day. It was left out. It was not a mistake. She's on record for that. Go watch the video. Okay, so that was not a mistake. All right, the fact that you transitioned to what Ms. Brooks was saying, you transitioned to the southeast that had difficult access, but the people right in Monrovia, you couldn't get the votes. Let's be very clear. There was a major transition when they saw the
And you guys also
trajectory of the
said no
numbers
matter
on the
what she
rise.
does, no matter what she does, numbers don't lie. So at the end of the day, if you guys have the numbers, it will show. Don't you think so?
Ashford, I would really wish you would listen to some of the statisticians. There are many ways votes can be manipulated. Okay, you are using a software to compute those numbers. All right, so let's not even say that numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. That's not a way to look at it. So all I'm saying is the skepticism that you're seeing today is
Some of the
helping.
statisticians could be making up their own numbers. How do we know they are credible?
Well, that is why an independent audit of these results, all right, a recount may potentially identify whether or not these results are credible. We have chosen to trust the process. If we believe that this process was free, fair, and transparent, wouldn't be having press conferences to encourage this NEC to do the right thing. The trajectory at which this thing was going, but for the press conferences we had today, you would have heard, George, we have been announced president. There were people leaving Douala with the mindset that today, George Weah, President George Weah for that matter, would have been announced president of the Republic of Liberia. Okay, so a press conference was held today by the Unity Party to ensure that the NEC boss does the right thing. And what did we learn today? That the Honorable Joseph Imamboyga won Montserrat County, winning Nimba and Lofa, as well as Babalu and Bummy. So let's be very clear. We had to hold the neck accountable to ensure that these elections are transparent to the maximum. Now, make no mistake, there is no telling whether or not fraud took place for us to conclude that it didn't take place. So all of the skepticism you see today was self-inflicted by this very government, to the underfunding of the census, to the lack of demarcation, all right, to the withholding of the FFR, I mean of the
To
FRR
the
until taken to
last
court.
minute
So
release
all
of,
of these
of the
skepticisms are
FRR.
healthy to Mr. Cummings,
But
right? To Mr. Cummings losing the
winning
case and all of that.
Monserrato, Lofa, Bong, not Bong, Neymar at a very small percentage, and losing the entire southeast could still put George Weah ahead of these elections.
May I jump in there too?
Well,
Okay.
Yeah,
Ashford, let's be very clear. At the moment, the Unity Party has 748,463 votes compared to George Weah, who has 747,578, which is 43.65% of the votes. So let's be clear, we are still in the lead statistically.
5%.
And we're hoping perhaps but Nima has not been fully counted. There are still some votes outstanding
Wait till
in the
tomorrow
entire
morning.
country, polling stations. Right. So as I speak to you now, Ashford, we are only 5,467 polling stations have been counted out of 5,890. So let's see, statistically, as the numbers are reporting, no one party at this point may be able to get 50 plus one, but there's no telling that numbers were manipulated or not, as evidenced by the fact that all other political parties feel disenfranchised, and they have very much stated that they were looking forward to an investigation, if not a recount.
Okay, thank you, Reverend George. Reverend
Yeah, I think
Reverend Adi has said now that it is not possible for Boyka to win the first round, so it might be the second round. The way the numbers are coming in. So, thanks for the clarity, Reverend Adi. Go ahead, Reverend George.
yeah, and let's also be very clear that look, we in the opposition should look within ourselves and see where we drop the ball. For example, Reverend Ali talks about the press conferences that were being held by Unity Party. And at every one of these press conferences, they were promising that when they had a tally sheet, they had a record. You asked earlier the question, based on NEC number right now, why can't Unity Party come up with this tally sheet that they were crediting so much to the Liberian people and say, look, This is what they has come away. They were talking, they were signing it, but here is our tally sheet, and here is the difference. So you ginger up the whole thing, and now push come to shove, you are reverting to second round. Where are the tally sheets? So let's hold ourselves
Okay,
accountable because
so
all of this thing brought hold on, all of this thing brought the increase the cynicism and the skepticism and bringing ginger up the confusion. So if you have several press conferences wherein you stated that NEC cannot do anything, we have tally sheet, it's a one-round victory. Now NEC have done what they have done based on the report they gave. It's no longer a first round. Where are your tally sheet
I'll
to
give you 30
disprove?
seconds to respond, Reverend Ade. Then we'll go to Lecture Books
all
Roberts.
right, so first of all, let's be very clear here. Let's just announce the results. The party has not officially spoken after these results. It was, in fact, Mr. Alexander Cummings who has completely dismissed these results as ridiculous. But if that is the case, then where are his tally sheets? So let's be very clear. This is the time for us to be united as one front to protect the votes and democracy, as opposed to attempting to lay blame at the hands of political parties. We have our tally sheets, and we've told you that NEC needed to do the right thing because she failed to announce some counties. We saw the trajectory of the votes. She had tally sheets and reportings in her hand that she was not announcing at the time. So press conferences had to be held to ensure that she does the right thing, which she did today. But based upon that announcement, the Honorable Mr. Cummings came up and said that they were all ridiculous numbers. Should I go about yelling where is his tally sheet to find out whether or not it's ridiculous? So nothing was ginger up here. So don't give that impression like we've made something out. We were the largest party opposition that led the largest poll watcher force to protect the vote and even went to court. So this is not a time to lay blame at each other's feet. Let's unite and protect the votes if there should be a runoff to a second round upon the final tallying of these votes. But let's
I
be
think.
very clear: the Unity Party is committed to a peaceful, free, fair, and transparent elections.
Thank you, that is. Well,
What
ladies
one
and gentlemen.
second, Mr. Gale, one
Oh,
second,
hold on,
please.
hold on, Baron George, please. We are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thanks to you. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. We'll now begin taking closing statements. Let me begin with Letty Brooks Roberts. 2 minutes
Yes,
closing statement.
thank you so much, Mr. Garley. Thank you to our viewing audience and our listening audience. Please do support Bridge Radio Africa on our Zelle account at 267-248-5295. We also thank you for your moral support. But in all, as we go on and on into the 25th, hoping to get a final result, let's continue to be peaceful. However, put on your thinking caps. If it doesn't sound right, look right, it's not right. Something happened. We don't know who, where, and how, but we do know something did. And we are digging. We will continue to look as people of conscious minds. We want to say, please, Mr. Weah, do the right thing. If you won fair and square, why are people leaving your offices? Why are your offices being ransacked or hijacked or looted, rather the better word, of equipments because
Did you
people
see people?
are
Did you see people
uncertain.
looting offices? Did you see that?
There are reports.
Correct.
Nothing that happens in Liberia I have been
Do you know
able to
that for?
see.
Do you know that for a fact?
I have heard recording, yes, of people sharing their concern. So
Okay.
just like everything else that we hear of, they're either leaked or they're broadcast live. So again, I'm not there, but I know I only talk about things that I see or read or hear. So that's a lot of questions going on in that country. Please do the right thing and make our people live comfortably. There's a
Thank
lot of wars going on around the world, and we
you.
do not want to be part of it. Thank you
And
so
I mean,
much.
for the credibility of the platform, yes, it's allegation that offices are being looted, just so they put out
Yeah,
the.
it's alleged. Alleged. Yes.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Reverend George. Closing statement, please.
Yes, before my internet go up, let me close by saying, um, to my dear brother, at no time during this election that or during the counting press that CPP held a press conference and boasted of having tally sheet in their hands that they would insist on. Number one. Number two, if you are telling the Liberian people that the reason for the press conference was to compel them to do the right thing, and now they have done the right thing, then again it will sound like okay. If the Eto Brown has done the right thing, according to you, that's fine. You also said that your party has now officially responded to the final tally today, and we are waiting. They are party respond officially because you promised the Liberian people that wherever comes out, you have your tally sheet. Okay, so that's something that will even benefit the opposition. If you have your tally sheet that is contrary to what we have today, we would like to use it in the court of law. That being said, let me close by saying to the Liberian people, I just want to remind you of Mr. Cummings' appeal to all of us, and it's encapsulated in 3 bullet points. And I'm end on that. He has said that something sinister happened. We don't know what it is. We must get to the bottom together and investigate. He has said that as we do so, let it be done peacefully with non-violent, no
Okay. Well, we're leaving right there as we go home tonight. Perhaps if he comes back, then he can conclude his thoughts. But in the meantime, Idadus added your closing statement.
You see, my fellow Liberians and honorable panelists, I couldn't agree more with with Reverend George, who is asking for our leadership to help fight this battle, requesting our tally sheet. And that is why the Honorable Joseph Imamboika has often asked all political parties to join this fight as he leads to secure a brighter future for Liberia. Should we happen to go to a second round, it is our hope that the likes of Mr. Alexander B. Cummings, Tiawan Gonglo, and perhaps, or better yet, Dr. Maniba, and all of those who are in this race will join the Unity Party, as we often looked up to as leaders to ensuring and protecting the democracy of our country. So I certainly agree with Reverend George. He's looking up to us now to provide our tally sheet because we've taken the leading role to ensuring that democracy is protected and secure in our country. So make no mistake, the Liberian people have spoken. Certainly, it's embarrassing for this incumbent that the opposition, in the personality and iconic figure of Joseph Imamboika, is neck to neck with him at this point in time. What does that say about the incumbent? And hence, as we close, it is my prayer, it is my hope that the Honorable Alexander Cummings, who made a very fine statement today, as well as that of Councillor Tiawan Gonglu, will all join hands together. Let's remove this president who indeed has degraded our country to an international laughing stock. Poverty on the rise, poor education, poor health care. We need your support, and we're hoping that for the greater good of Liberia and our sense of patriotism, we'll secure a victory should there be a second round. Thank you.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have to be with you tonight. God willing, we will be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Until then, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. And the height of a man is never known until he rises. And there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone because you can't hide your nakedness from beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't see that medicine. Yours truly, the brother who doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. Africa's media doobie doo extraordinaire. I'm Ashford Garley. Have a good night.
Hey!